All right, my friends, today we're going to talk about BLIZZARDMEN. This is a really interesting one. Again, this is one that I haven't seen in the wild, but presumably if you do adventure mode in the frozen wastelands or maybe even start a fortress in, some especially savage and frozen lands, you might see these guys. You'll see by the description, they have translucent, icy skin. They have icicles for teeth, and they have glowing red eyes. They are not very nice guys. They're also giant humanoids, which means they will mess you up, one for one against your dwarves or anything, whoever your adventurer is. BLIZZARDMEN are like a key into the deepest philosophical regions of like how anatomy and physiology works in Dwarf Fortress, and we're going to get into that. So it's a very difficult creature to kill. It's strong, it's tough, it's resistant to weaponry, but I have specifically found at temperatures labeled scorching to on fire, they start to take melting damage. They actually melt anatomically, physically, in a detailed way, which is also inconsistent. So if anybody here is like a Dwarf Fortress engine biologist, they really know about how the organ systems work, how the different, well, we'll get into the examples, but I would love to know more about what I'm seeing. Basically, if the temperature gets too hot, if you set a fire or you pour some magma, if the temperature gets too hot, they do begin to melt in detail physiologically in a few ways which are a little inconsistent. So it will count in the active effects on the first panel. When you open up the creature's panel, it will describe their melting as bleeding. Some variant, like slightly bleeding, heavy bleeding, and the bleeding, their blood is actually this ice turning into water. Well, it's not even really water because, as you'll see, when they die, their corpse is actually a puddle of what they call BLIZZARDMEN grease. So it's a greasy substance. It's not quite water, but it'll melt like water. And when they're losing this greasy substance, it counts as bleeding. Now, that being said, it is still a grease. This is fascinating. This has mostly become an excuse for me to learn more about the biological systems within Dwarf Fortress so it counts as bleeding. When their corpse is left, it counts as grease. But if you turn up the heat on a BLIZZARDMEN and put them into that, and then flash freeze them again. You can do this in arena mode, just change the temperature, you'll see me doing that. So if you specifically cook them and start to melt them, and then flash freeze them again, and then go into the tab that has like their long-term physical characteristics, on a normal dwarf or something, it would say something like, his left finger is missing, his right hand is mangled, something like that. The BLIZZARDMEN will suffer mangling, so certain body parts when they get too damaged, when they've bled enough, I guess. Oh, and they don't seem to have any special magic power. When I was first testing with them, I expected them to like do blizzard attacks, to do freezing air or anything. They don't seem to be magically imbued. They're just icemen. Basically, as far as I can tell, they bleed grease until they're out of grease, and then that body part gets mangled, becomes useless because all of the ice grease has bled out of it. That's the best I can describe it. So I guess when they die, it's technically a bleed to death effect. However, if they stop bleeding, what they're also doing while they're bleeding, the game is constantly deleting their fat reserves, what counts biologically as fat reserves for them. So you'll see in some of this footage, when I pull that up, if a BLIZZARDMEN has been melted almost to death and then refrozen, it'll describe him as like, not emaciated, because that's a specific Dwarf Fortress term, but it'll describe that every fat deposit on his body is missing. In the same way it'll say like a dwarf's eye is missing, the fingers are missing. It'll say that every fat deposit is missing. That's the grease, I guess, when they become a corpse. So the grease bleeds off of them. That's how the actual Dwarf Fortress biology of it works when they get too hot. Is they bleed and they lose fat deposits, and then if a certain body part loses all of its fat deposits, it appears to me it becomes mangled. It then becomes like too damaged to work. So it's really a great effect. Again, I'm always amazed by the Toady One and team, how they get these like procedurally generated, like really, really detailed biology effects and damage effects. It's really pretty incredible. But so yeah, that's what I recommend. If you ever meet a BLIZZARDMEN, don't try to fight him in combat. Try to get him somewhere where temperature is a factor and heat him up. It's as simple as that. Make sure you have temperature turned on. A lot of people turn it off because temperature is usually not that useful or important in Dwarf Fortress, but in the case of BLIZZARDMEN, it actually has a lot of like gameplay to it. Yeah, I just find that really fascinating. I think that's all I got for you guys. And this is just the newest creature where I was like, wow, I've never seen this, and that's a wild thing. Last time was Boogeymen. You can check that out. I'm going to try to keep finding creatures that are like, maybe this will be like a biology section, where I try to find animals that operate in weird ways. Does anyone know? Leave in the comments if you have any input on this biology stuff. But also, like, are there creatures that have like 3 hearts and then like damage to one of the hearts? you know, doesn't kill it completely, because like in real life earthworms do that. That'd be cool if, you know, there was a creature with like 3 hearts in different parts of the body, so it's like a zombie almost. It never stops fighting until you really put it down. But yeah, that's all I got, guys. Feel free to like and subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel. It is hard out here for a pimp. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining me. Catch everybody in the next one.